Alien entertainment industries study human humor because our jokes translate everywhere. Part 1. Dr. Aura stared at the data streaming across her display screen, her three eyes blinking in sequence as they did when she encountered something that made no sense. In her 200 years as the Galactic Entertainment Consortium's lead researcher, she had never seen numbers like these. The data showed that an illegal broadcast from a planet called Earth had been downloaded 43 million times in the past month. That alone was unusual, but not unprecedented. What made her scales itch with curiosity was that those downloads came from 127 different species spread across 58 star systems. 43 million viewers watching content from a species that hadn't even invented faster-than-light travel yet. She pulled up the file. The translation matrix labeled it The Office, Season 2, Episode 1. Aura had studied entertainment for most of her life, and she knew the fundamental truth that every accepted: humor did not translate between species. It was impossible. Comedy required shared context, shared biology, shared experience. The things that made a laugh would bore a axe to sleep. What the crystalline Eam found amusing would terrify the collective. Yet here was this human broadcast, spreading like a virus through the galactic network. She decided to watch it herself. 23 minutes later, Aura was making a sound she had never made before. Her translator chirped in confusion, unable to classify the noise. It took her a moment to realize she was laughing. Actually laughing at something created by aliens she had never met, from a world she had never visited, depicting situations she had never experienced. The show featured humans working in something called an office, selling paper, an obsolete physical medium that most species had abandoned 10,000 years ago. The humor came from a human named Michael who was, by any objective measure, terrible at his job as manager. He made inappropriate comments. He misunderstood social situations. He desperately wanted his employees to like him while simultaneously making their lives more difficult. And somehow, impossibly, Aura understood exactly why it was funny. She had worked under managers like Michael. Different species, different contexts, but the same fundamental dynamic. The person in charge who should not be in charge. The employees trapped by circumstance. The awkward tension when someone said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Aura sat back in her chair, her mind racing. This shouldn't work. By every theory of cross-species humor was impossible. The consortium had spent 3,000 years trying to create entertainment that could appeal to multiple species at once. They had failed every single time. She immediately scheduled an emergency meeting with the consortium board. 3 days later, Aura stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Entertainment Consortium. The chamber was massive, designed to accommodate the vastly different body types of the galaxy's sentient species. Some sat in chairs. Others floated in zero-gravity fields. A few existed as clouds of particles held together by magnetic force. Distinguished members, Aura began, her voice carried by translators to each species in their own language. We have discovered an anomaly that could change everything we know about entertainment. She activated the holographic display. Images from Earth appeared, showing humans in various states of what the translation matrix called comedy. Humans slipping on banana peels. Humans telling jokes in front of audiences. Humans making exaggerated facial expressions at cameras. Humans creating what they called memes, simple images with text that somehow conveyed complex comedic ideas. This is humanity, she said. A pre-FTL species from a planet in the outer rim. Their broadcasts have been reaching civilized space for the past 15 years, but we dismiss them as primitive and irrelevant. Get to the point, rumbled Ambassador Axe, a methane breather whose species had invented drama 3,000 years before humans discovered fire. The point, Aura said, is that human comedy is spreading through our civilization like nothing we have ever seen. It is being watched by species who have nothing in common with each other or with humans, and they are all laughing. The chamber erupted in noise. Translators struggled to keep up with dozens of species, all expressing disbelief simultaneously. "Impossible," said the EAM representative, its crystalline body chiming with agitation. "Our psychology team spent 2 centuries proving that humor cannot cross species barriers." "I thought it was impossible too," Aura replied. "Then I watched their content. Then I analyzed the data. Members of the consortium, I have personally witnessed a axe laugh at a human joke about traffic. A axe, a species that experiences time nonlinearly and has no concept of vehicular congestion." She pulled up more data. In the past 6 months, human comedy specials have become the most pirated content in the galaxy. More than EAM resonance operas, more than Axe War epics, more than even the collective's hive mind dramas. "How?" demanded Ambassador Axe. "What makes these humans special?" "That," Aura said, "is what I propose we find out. Because whoever understands the secret of human humor will control the future of galactic entertainment. The industry is worth 40 trillion credits annually. Right now, we are watching that entire market shift toward a species that doesn't even know we exist." The representative, a being of pure energy contained in a diplomatic shell, spoke in harmonics. "You are suggesting we study them." "I am suggesting we send research teams to Earth immediately," Aura said. "Before humanity makes first contact, before they realize what they have, we need to understand why their humor works. We need to understand it before they do." Ambassador Axe leaned forward, his massive form shifting in his chair. "And if we cannot understand it, if human humor remains a mystery, then we face a future where a single pre-FTL species dominates the most influential industry in galactic civilization," Aura said. "Not through force, not through technology, through making people laugh." The chamber fell silent as the representatives absorbed this. Finally, the collective spoke, its voice a chorus of 1,000 minds speaking as one. The collective remembers the last time a single species dominated galactic culture. It led to 3 centuries of imbalance and resentment. We cannot allow that to happen again. "Agreed," said the EAM representative. "But we also cannot ignore this phenomenon. If human humor truly transcends species barriers, we must understand how and why." Ambassador Axe nodded slowly. "Very well. Dr. Aura, you will lead the Human Humor Study Initiative. You will have access to whatever resources you require. Assemble your teams. Go to Earth. Study these humans. Find out what makes them so funny." Aura felt a thrill of excitement mixed with apprehension. She was about to lead the most important entertainment research project in galactic history. "I will need authorization for covert observation. We cannot reveal ourselves to humanity yet." "Granted," said the collective. "But understand the stakes, Dr. Aura. You are not just studying comedy. You are studying a potential cultural revolution. Handle it carefully." As the meeting adjourned, Aura returned to her office and began assembling her research proposal. She pulled up more human content, trying to understand what she was dealing with. She found herself watching something called stand-up comedy, where a single human stood on a stage and talked to an audience. The human was discussing his mother-in-law, the mother of his mate. The relationship was apparently fraught with tension and mutual dislike, which the human exaggerated for comedic effect. Aura did not have a mother-in-law. Her species reproduced through carefully planned genetic combinations involving 7 different parental contributors. The concept of in-law conflict was completely foreign to her biology and culture. Yet she found herself laughing again. That was when she realized the true scope of what she was investigating. Human humor did not just cross species barriers. It revealed something fundamental about consciousness itself. Every sentient being, regardless of how they thought or perceived reality, could connect with something humans created. She opened a communication channel to begin recruiting her research teams. This would require linguists, cultural anthropologists, and entertainment theorists from a dozen different species. They would need to work in secret, observing humans without interference. As she worked, Aura kept a video playing in the background. A human comedian was telling jokes about air travel, about the absurdity of security procedures and cramped seating and delayed flights. Aura had never been on a human airplane. She traveled through quantum tunnels that folded space-time. But she understood the frustration of travel that should be simple, but was made complicated by bureaucracy and poor design. She understood the gap between expectation and reality. She understood the need to laugh at circumstances beyond one's control. Maybe that was the secret. Maybe humans had found a way to express universal truths through their specific experiences. Or maybe there was something else, something deeper that she had not yet discovered. Either way, she would find out. The future of galactic entertainment depended on it. Part 2. Commander X adjusted his holographic disguise and stepped out of the transport vehicle humans called a taxi. He looked human now, at least to human eyes. 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head, the standard configuration. His actual body, a crystalline matrix of silicon-based life, was safely hidden beneath the projection. "Keep the change," he told the driver, having practiced the phrase 100 times in the ship. The driver looked at the money, then at X. "You gave me exact change, buddy." X's translator struggled with the sarcasm. He decided the safest response was to walk away quickly. His team had been on Earth for 3 weeks now, and he was learning that human communication involved layers upon layers of unspoken meaning. They were in a city called New York, outside an establishment called the Comedy Cellar. X had read the briefing materials. Humans gathered in these spaces specifically to hear other humans tell jokes. They paid money for this. The concept fascinated him. His team members, disguised as various human ethnicities and body types, fell in beside him. Lieutenant Ra, who in her natural form was a floating sphere of electrical impulses, was now a young human female. "Sensors calibrated," she said quietly. "We will record every physiological response in the audience." "Good," X said. "Remember, we are here to observe only, no interference." They entered the club and found seats in the back. The room was dark, smelling of something humans called beer and wings. About 60 humans were packed into a space that felt too small. X's species valued personal space and found the crowding uncomfortable, but he noticed the humans seemed to enjoy it. A human took the stage. "How's everyone doing tonight?" he asked, and the audience responded with various sounds of approval. "Great, great. So I was at the DMV yesterday." For the next 15 minutes, the human told stories about visiting a government office that issued driving licenses. The stories were not extraordinary. The human had waited in line. He had filled out forms incorrectly. An employee had been unhelpful. These were mundane frustrations, minor inconveniences. Yet the audience laughed. They laughed hard. And X, despite having no experience with human bureaucracy, found himself understanding exactly why it was funny. His species had similar experiences with their own governmental systems. The frustration of waiting, the confusion of unclear rules, the interaction with officials who seemed more interested in following procedures than helping people. The human was not describing something unique to humans. He was describing a universal experience of dealing with systems that should work better than they do. After the show, X and his team retreated to their hotel room to review the data. "Fascinating," Ra said, her holographic human face showing excitement that matched her actual emotional state. The audience members showed elevated endorphin levels, increased social bonding hormones, and synchronized breathing patterns. They were not just entertained. They were connecting with each other through shared laughter. "But why?" X asked. Why does a story about waiting in line create that response? I think, said another team member X, it is because the human made the mundane feel important. He took a frustrating experience and transformed it into something worth sharing. He found meaning in meaninglessness. X considered this. His species approached life with careful logic and planning. They found satisfaction in order and efficiency. The idea of celebrating inefficiency through humor was alien to their nature, yet he could not deny its effectiveness. On another continent, Team Beta was taking a more direct approach. Doctor had abducted her fifth human comedian that week. The human sat in her examination chamber, conscious but calm, affected by a drug that made him cooperative without erasing his personality. "Tell me about your creative process," she said, her voice modulated to sound soothing to human ears. The human, whose name was, rubbed his temples. "This is the weirdest audition I've ever been to. Where are we exactly?" "Just answer the question, please." Okay. My creative process. Well, I think about things that annoy me, things that don't make sense. Like, why do we park in driveways and drive in parkways? Why do we call it a building when it's already built? Why do hot dogs come in packages of 10 but hot dog buns come in packages of 8? "And this is humorous?" asked. "Yeah, because it's absurd. Life is absurd. We just point it out." Made notes. She had interviewed 5 comedians now, and they all said similar things. They found humor in contradictions, in things that did not make sense, in the gap between how things should be and how things actually were. "Tell me about punching up," she said, referencing a term she had heard repeatedly. "Lean back. Oh, that's important. You make fun of people with power, not people without it. You punch up at politicians, corporations, the wealthy. You don't punch down at people who are struggling. That's not comedy, that's just being mean." "Why does the direction matter?" "Because comedy should comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. It's how we fight back against unfairness without violence. It's how we process pain and turn it into something useful." Felt something shift in her understanding. Humans used humor as a weapon and a shield simultaneously. They mocked power structures while supporting those without power. It was sophisticated social engineering disguised as entertainment. "One more question," she said. "Why do you do this? Why become a comedian?" Smiled. "Because life is hard, you know. We all die eventually. Everything falls apart. The universe is infinite and we're just tiny specks, so we might as well laugh about it. What else are we going to do?" After the session, returned to his apartment with his memories adjusted to believe he had simply fallen asleep. She sat in her ship, reviewing the interview recordings. Humans, she realized, were aware of their mortality in a way that drove their entire culture. They knew they would die. They knew they were fragile. They knew the universe was hostile, and their response was not despair but defiance. They laughed at death itself. Meanwhile, Team Gamma was drowning in human internet culture. Researcher Al had been studying human memes for 2 weeks, and he was beginning to question his sanity. His 17 eyes stalked independently as he scrolled through what humans called. "Explain this to me again," he said to his assistant, a young researcher named X. On the screen was an image of a frog sitting on a log. The text above it read, "It is Wednesday, my dudes." "I do not understand why this is funny," Al said. "I am not certain it is supposed to be funny in the traditional sense," X replied. "I think it is. Participatory. Humans share this image every Wednesday as a ritual. The humor comes from the shared experience of recognizing and continuing the pattern. So the joke is that there is no joke. The joke is that everyone knows there is no joke, but they do it anyway." Al felt a headache forming, which was impressive given that his species did not have heads in the conventional sense. "What about this one?" He pulled up an image of a man with an exaggerated smile and dead eyes, labeled "Hide the Pain Herald." "That is a human named," X explained. He modeled for stock photography. Humans found his smile unsettling because it looked forced, like he was hiding pain behind happiness. So they made him a symbol of trying to remain positive despite suffering. But why is that funny? Because all humans do that. They all hide pain behind smiles. By making it obvious and exaggerated, they are acknowledging a universal truth while making it safe to laugh about. Al sat back. These humans are more psychologically sophisticated than our initial assessment suggested. He continued scrolling and found something called Loss, a four-panel comic that had somehow become a meme. Then, where humans tricked each other into watching a music video. Then Nuts, which was just. He did not even know what that was. The internet has made them insane, Al declared. Or, X suggested, it has allowed them to develop humor at a rate faster than any species in galactic history. They are iterating on jokes in real time, across their entire planet. What we are seeing is evolutionary pressure applied to comedy itself. Al considered this. Humans had only had global communication networks for a few decades, yet they had developed incredibly complex systems of humor that required multiple layers of context to understand. They were weaponizing absurdity. After 8 weeks of intensive study, the 3 research teams gathered on the command ship orbiting Earth's moon to share their findings. Commander X presented first. Human humor is rooted in shared frustration with systems and authority. They laugh at things that should work but do not. Doctor went next. Human humor is a coping mechanism for mortality. They know they will die, so they mock death to rob it of power. Researcher Al finished. Human humor is chaotic and iterative. They create jokes about jokes about jokes, building layers of irony and meta-commentary. Dr. Aura, who had been coordinating the research from the ship, listened carefully. Then she said something that surprised everyone. You are all correct, but you are missing the central point. She pulled up comparative data. Every species in the galaxy has some form of humor, but it is narrow, specific to their experiences. Humans are different. Humans mock everything. They make jokes about death, about government, about relationships, about work, about themselves, especially about themselves. Nothing is sacred to them. And because they mock everything, they have accidentally found patterns that resonate with every form of consciousness. She changed the display. Humans evolved on a death world. They were prey animals that became predators. They faced diseases, natural disasters, predators, and each other. They should have developed a culture of fear and paranoia. Instead, they developed a culture of mockery. They laughed at everything that tried to kill them. And that, Aura continued, is why their humor translates. Because every species, no matter how different, understands struggle. Every species knows frustration, mortality, absurdity. Humans just found a way to make those universal experiences into entertainment. The room was silent as the researchers absorbed this. Finally, Commander X spoke. So what do we do with this information? We report it to the consortium, Aura said, and we prepare for everything to change. Part 3. The Galactic Entertainment Consortium moved quickly once they understood what they had. Within 3 months, they had hired a team of human comedy writers, explaining their presence as representatives of a foreign production company interested in international content. The humans, eager for work and money, asked no questions. The first galactic comedy special written with human consultation premiered on every civilized world simultaneously. It was called Universal Truths, and it featured comedians from 17 different species, all performing material developed with human writers. A species that experienced time nonlinearly, did a bit about how annoying it was when past versions of yourself made decisions that current you had to deal with. Aim told jokes about resonating at the wrong frequency during important meetings. A collective member did an entire routine about trying to get thousands of minds to agree on where to eat dinner. The special became the highest-grossing entertainment event in recorded history. It was translated into 847 languages and watched by trillions of beings. For the first time, species that had been at war found themselves laughing at the same jokes. The consortium board was ecstatic. They had done it. They had cracked the code of universal humor using human insights, and they controlled it. Then everything fell apart. A human hacker group called the Laugh Track discovered what was happening. They traced unusual network traffic to servers connected to the consortium's Earth operation. They found evidence of the research teams, the abductions, the monitoring. They found proof that aliens existed and had been studying humanity in secret. The hackers did what humans do. They posted everything online. Within 24 hours, every human on Earth knew that aliens were real, were here, and were apparently obsessed with human comedy. The consortium's Earth facility went into lockdown. Dr. Aura watched the human internet explode with reaction. She expected panic, anger, demands for answers. Instead, humans started making jokes about it. Aliens traveled millions of light years just to steal our memes, became a trending topic. Humans created elaborate fake, alien-friendly jokes designed to confuse the researchers. Someone started a conspiracy theory that aliens had invented tick to harvest human humor, and millions of humans pretended to believe it. The entire planet turned the revelation into comedy content. "They are making fun of us," Commander X said, watching the feeds in disbelief. "We revealed ourselves as an advanced spacefaring civilization, and they are making memes about it." "Of course they are," Aura said, and she found herself laughing. "This is what we should have expected. Humans mock everything, remember. Why would aliens be different?" A comedy podcast posted an emergency episode titled, "What the Aliens Don't Want You to Know, Probably Nothing Interesting." A late-night talk show host did an entire monologue about finally understanding why so many people claim to be abducted by aliens who just wanted to ask them weird questions. One human comedian posted a video directly addressing the consortium. "Look, if you wanted to understand our humor, you just had to ask. We would have taught you. We're humans. We'll explain anything if you give us attention and maybe some money." The consortium board held another emergency meeting. Ambassador Axe was furious. "This is a disaster. We must contain this before human culture spreads further." "Contain it how?" asked the EAM representative. "Their comedy is already everywhere. Half the galaxy is watching human content. Our own citizens are demanding more." "We could ban it," suggested a minor representative. "Ban laughter," the collective spoke with derision. "We might as well ban breathing. We have given our people something they have never had before. You cannot take that away now." Dr. Aura stood. "Distinguished members, we have only one viable option. We invite humanity to join the galactic community officially." The chamber erupted. "They are a pre-FTL species," someone shouted. "They are barbaric," yelled another. "They make jokes about death. They put pineapple on pizza." Aura waited for the noise to die down. "Yes, they are all of those things. They are also the only species that has united the galaxy through shared culture. In the 8 months since human comedy became widely available, piracy has dropped 40% because people would rather pay for legal access. Tensions between the Axe and the EAM have decreased by 20% because both species are watching the same shows and discussing them. The X and the Ethereals, who have not spoken in 3 centuries, are collaborating on a comedy festival." She let that sink in. Humans have done what diplomacy could not. They made us laugh together, and they did it accidentally just by being themselves. Ambassador Axe leaned forward. "And if we invite them in, what happens to galactic culture?" "It changes," Aura said simply. "It becomes richer, more diverse, more interesting. Yes, humans will influence us, but we will influence them too. That is what culture does. It grows and adapts." They will dominate the entertainment industry, someone warned. Perhaps, Aura agreed. Or perhaps they will teach us how to tell our own stories better. Either way, we cannot put this back in the box. Human humor is here. We can embrace it and benefit from it, or we can fight it and lose. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the decision was unanimous. Humanity would be invited to join the Galactic Entertainment Consortium as full members, with representation on the board and equal status with all other species. First contact was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Dr. Aura was chosen to lead the delegation to Earth. She and her team landed in New York City, right in the middle of Times Square. Their ships were visible to everyone. They broadcast on all human frequencies, announcing their presence and their intentions. Thousands of humans gathered, cameras raised, filming everything. Aura stepped out of the ship in her true form, no holographic disguise. She wanted humans to see her as she really was. The crowd fell silent. "People of Earth," Aura said, her words translated into every human language simultaneously. "I am Dr. Aura, representative of the Galactic Entertainment Consortium. On behalf of 847 species from across the galaxy, I am here to formally invite humanity to join the galactic community." She paused. "We have studied you. We have watched your content. We have learned from you. And we have discovered something remarkable. Your humor, your ability to find joy in struggle and meaning in absurdity, has united civilizations that have been separate for. You have given the galaxy a gift without even knowing you were doing it. So we are here to offer a partnership. We want to learn from you. We want to share our stories with you and hear yours. We want to laugh together." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then someone in the crowd yelled, "Does this mean we get spaceships?" Laughter rippled through the gathering. "Yes," Aura said, and she found herself laughing too. "Yes, you get spaceships." "Are you guys going to pay us for all the comedy you've been pirating?" someone else shouted. "That is part of the negotiation," Aura admitted. "Do aliens have tick?" "We will after we study yours." The crowd was warming up now, shouting questions, making jokes, treating the first contact between humanity and galactic civilization like a particularly interesting press conference. A young human woman pushed to the front. "Hey, I'm a stand-up comedian. Can I get a gig on your spaceship?" "Actually," Aura said, "we were hoping to hire several human comedians to teach at our entertainment academy. You would be training the next generation of galactic performers." The woman's eyes widened. "Holy shit, yes, absolutely yes." More humans pushed forward, all wanting to be part of this new opportunity. Over the next 6 months, humanity and the consortium worked out the details. Earth got FTL technology, medical advances, and access to galactic markets. The consortium got human entertainment consultants, access to Earth's vast library of comedy content, and humanity's agreement to co-produce the first true universal comedy festival. The festival was held on a neutral station in orbit around Earth. Thousands of performers from hundreds of species gathered. Human comedians taught aliens about timing, callbacks, and crowd work. Alien performers taught humans about resonance humor, temporal jokes, and hive-mind comedy. Dr. Aura walked through the festival grounds, watching species interact who had never met before. A axe warrior was learning to do stand-up from a human comedian. A Eem was teaching a group of humans how to create visual humor through crystalline resonance. The collective was performing sketch comedy that involved hundreds of bodies moving in synchronized chaos. She found Commander X watching a performance by a human comedian who was teaching a axe how to do a spit take. "This is insane," X said, but he was smiling. "This is progress," Aura corrected. On the main stage, a human comedian was finishing his set. "You know what the best part about being the galaxy's comedians is?" he said to the massive mixed-species audience. "You guys are going to spend centuries trying to understand why we're funny. We've got scientists and philosophers and researchers all trying to figure it out." He grinned. "Meanwhile, we're going to be over here laughing at you trying to figure it out. That's the joke. That's always been the joke. We don't even understand why we're funny. We just know that if life's going to be hard, we might as well laugh about it." The audience erupted in laughter, hundreds of species all responding the same way to a truth they all recognized. Later, Aura sat in her quarters writing her final report to the consortium board. She tried to summarize everything they had learned, everything humanity had taught them. In the end, she wrote, humanity survived by mocking their suffering. They turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. They taught us that consciousness, regardless of form, shares common experiences. And they showed us that the appropriate response to the absurdity of existence is not despair, but laughter. We spent trying to find common ground through diplomacy, trade, and philosophy. Humans showed up and united us in weeks by making us laugh. The study revealed more about us than about them. We all could laugh. We just needed someone absurd enough, bold enough, and ridiculous enough to show us how. She paused, then added one final line. The galaxy will never be the same, and that is a good thing. Aura sent the report and stood at her window, looking down at Earth. Somewhere down there, humans were making more jokes, creating more content, finding new ways to laugh at their circumstances. They had no idea that they had just changed the course of galactic history. Or maybe they did know, and they just thought it was funny. Either way, the galaxy was laughing now. And that, Aura thought, was the greatest achievement any species could claim.